Good.
I'm very good, thank you.
Are you in Manchester? Are you in the office?
I am in Manchester and I am in the office.
Well done, Stephen. Got to the office in time.
Absolutely.
Well, why don't you start by introducing yourself to everyone, and telling everyone a bit about who you are?
Will do. My name's Steve, clearly. I'm Director of People and Talent at One Agency Media. We're based in Trafford Park in sunny Manchester, and it is sunny today for a change.
Cold.
Um, I'm responsible for our people, partly responsible for the culture that we've got at the agency. Um, so yeah, I'm a Bolton Wanderers fan, if anybody's interested. Um, that's it really.
And how did you end up at One Agency Media? Talk to us a little bit about your background.
Well, as you can probably tell, I'm a little bit more mature. So I've got a lot of background, which I won't go into all of it. But I think from my point of view, I started off like most youngsters do. I wanted to be a professional footballer. That's all I really wanted to be. I was from a working class and am from a working class background, so I perhaps didn't feel I had the opportunities of other things. But I was going to be a footballer anyway, so it didn't really matter. I did live the dream for 3 or 4 years. I
Wow.
joined Bolton Wanderers straight from school, which at 16, I was there for 3 years. So I did live the dream for a little bit. Didn't quite get to first team level, but hey oh. And then obviously once that particular dream is over, you've got to start thinking about, well, how do I earn some money and how am I going to pay to go out with my friends? And I ended up in the fitness industry. Um, Perhaps doesn't look like that now, but I was. Um, Developed from there into membership sales and really sort of stayed within sales. I went into financial services. So I think you can see the history is a little bit. For me, it was all about generating an income to begin with, and didn't necessarily put too much thought into what sort of career can I have, where am I going to end up when I'm older. It was all about the here and now. Um, Financial services started a career path really. I was there for over 10 years, but an opportunity came up to get into the media industry with NewsQuest, which as an account manager, it was a sales related role, but it was my first step into being amongst creatives, being amongst journalists, and I've never looked back since. That was probably 15, 16, 17 years ago now. And I've just developed through the creative industries, mainly in advertising.
Hmm.
But obviously, you come across lots of different types of people, particularly in a advertising agency, lots of creative people, lots of digitally minded people. And I love the industry that we're in.
Oh, I love that. And why did you never consider the creative industries when you were 19?
Well, again, maybe a little bit different to the audience. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, which, yes, that may mean I'm a bit ancient to some people. And it was still very much you followed the path of your parents, particularly in the background I had. Um, Unfortunately for me, my dad was very much machine operating, engineering, very, very good at things of that nature. And I am not that way inclined. Never have been, never will be. So, and I just didn't feel the creative. I mean, it feels a bit night and day. When I look back on it now, it feels a bit night and day. I mean, I think a lot of that was down to me. Like I say, at 16, and times were different. At 16, you could just go and get a job. You didn't have to worry about, I say worry's not the right word. There didn't have to be an element of education after school. You could just leave school and get a job.
Mm.
And I was really committed to thinking I could be a footballer. I know it sounds a bit idealistic now, but that's all I wanted to do, and that was what was going to happen. From a career point of view, when I left school, I didn't even think about creative industries. It wouldn't have even crossed my mind that this type of industry could accommodate someone like me from where I came from. And I think a lot of that is to do with my mindset
Mm.
and the way I was perhaps brought up and the environment I grew up in. Not necessarily all to do with the industry.
Mm.
It just felt like it was something not to even
Yeah.
consider.
Yeah. What wasn't even a thought in your mind. And I think
Absolutely not.
that's still a challenge today. I think that, teachers and schools and parents and other people around young people are struggling with is to open up their minds to be like, okay, there is other industries. So is there anything now you're in the industry, now you're in advertising, what would you say to younger people who were you who don't really consider the creative industries? Like, how would you, I guess, pitch the creative industries to be like, it is actually a really interesting place?
It probably depends on it probably depends on what they want to do. I mean, obviously, I've alluded to the fact that at 16 I wanted to be a professional footballer, and I'm surrounded by a lot of young people in this agency who, from quite an early age, sort of knew what career they wanted to have. And I think that's great. They've been nurtured and they've been nourished at home. That there's, and I think we can do anything if we put our minds to it. So I think if people are creative, I think if they have and that's the other thing. I haven't got a creative bone in my body, but I'm surrounded and help people who've got creative talents. If you are creative, there isn't anything that should stop you getting into this industry. There might be things that you should look to do yourself. There will be opportunities. It's just not feeling that those opportunities aren't for you because there will be. There are lots of pathways into the industry. It doesn't have to be that you've been to university. There are lots of options that we've got in our agency alone. So I think if it's something that you're passionate about, you really want to be involved in, and look, I'm in my 50s now. During the course of your career, things will be important to you at 19, 20 that might not be important to you at 40, 45. But if you're passionate about an industry, you're passionate about a particular skill set, and that's something that you want to develop over many, many years, this industry is for everyone.
Mm,
I think you've just got to try and make it happen as opposed to feeling that it's not an option because there are agencies, I'm sure, like ours, that will embrace everybody.
yeah. No, that's a really good point. I think it's if you want to get into an industry, you can make that happen for
Yeah, and
yourself.
we can give you some ideas on what I mean. It's only my opinion and what I've seen within our agency, but there's definitely suggestions we can make. There's definitely things that people should consider doing if they want to get into this industry.
Yeah.
Even for people who've been to university, they're not necessarily just going to walk into a design job or um, any of the roles that you perhaps feel you need some theoretical practice behind. It
Yeah.
doesn't it doesn't mean you're just going to walk into the job of your dreams. But there are things that you can do that would make an employer sit up and think, we really need to give this person an
Chance.
opportunity.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that then. Let's talk about some of the things that, people can be doing. And also maybe just mention a bit about One Agency Media, what you guys do, and you guys are an independent agency. So
Yeah.
you might want to just explain a little bit about what that means.
So we are an independent advertising, marketing, events agency. We've been around for 10 years. Two owners who came together right at the very beginning. So there's only two of them with advertising sales backgrounds, I would say. And it's just developed from there. There's over 50 of us now in various departments, which I'll just tell you a little bit about. So we've got creative, which includes design, motion design, illustration, digital, so social media, web development, um, sales, which is where I started at this agency. I started off as account managing, so looking after clients, developing client relationships. So we've got business development, media planning, research and insight. We have an events team, which includes event technicians who build stands. So we've also got some technical jobs in that aspect. And we shouldn't forget there's a finance department. So accounts assistants, finance manager, accountants. Um, you tend not to think about all those things when you think of an advertising agency. You just think we're sat with a big piece of paper and some crayons and come up with some fancy ideas. But there's a lot going on, and there are a lot
Yeah.
of different types of roles that you can get involved in. So those are our departments and the types of jobs that are available within this business. Um, I think the benefit you have with an independent, smaller organization, whether it be an agency or another industry, is you don't have the formal, I call it jumping through hoops that some bigger organizations would have. I think that can sometimes make people, not all organizations, but it can make some people feel that they've got to stay in the lane a little bit. So if you've got a particular job, that's the job you do. Don't worry too much about what they're doing and don't get too involved in what they're doing. Whereas here, I think we don't have the numbers of people that were able to say, oh, we just do a tiny little bit. We sort of expose even younger people to quite a lot. And I think that allows people to develop the skills. The world of work in itself is a minefield. Forget about the skills that you need to do your job, building relationships, understanding what a client meeting might look like, what an internal meeting might look like, the language. And I think we can help people coming into an industry quite early in their careers
Mm.
quite quickly understand how all that works and to build
Yeah.
relationships and collaboration. It's a word you hear a lot, and it does get thrown around a little bit, but it's really, really important for us. The most inexperienced, most junior members of staff has a voice that may come up with an idea that none of the other more experienced members of staff might have even not have thought of. Diversity of thought is really important. Um, so I think those things in an independent agency are a little bit easier to integrate right from the very off. Hierarchy isn't something that necessarily is too much of a concern here. There are pathways, um, but like I say, we want people to. We don't have people joining the business and making drinks for people and going to the shop, and they're
Yeah.
not here to do any of that. They're here to learn skills and develop their careers.
No.
I think we get back in spades what commitment they'll make to the business when they see that we want them to be involved. Um,
And so when, if someone is interested, like you said, like how could they, what are the things that they could be doing that will make them stand?
I think when people are ready to sort of look for jobs, careers, think about these things. So it might be even before they've left college or before they've left university, they might start doing some planning. I think they need to be proactive.
Mm.
Unfortunately, a job isn't just going to land in someone's lap because they've got a particular qualification or because of circumstances. They do need to be proactive. We see it all the time. We get a lot of speculative applications, some that some that we wouldn't necessarily consider for anything in the future, and some we definitely say, right, that's got to go into our bank of prospects for future opportunities. Um, I think absorbing material from the industry, it doesn't necessarily always have to just be an outreach to a business to say, have you got any opportunities available? I think it's immersing yourself in the industry that you want to be in. research roles that might suit you rather than thinking, I want to be in the creative industry. Focus on the actual roles and understand what's going to be required on your day to day. Nothing worse, in my opinion, than being miserable in your work.
Mm.
Um, unless your numbers come up, you're a long time working, and if you can find something that you are really motivated by, then you're onto a bit of a winner. Work experience is really important because you've got to start somewhere. I think the trouble sometimes is you can have the theoretical qualifications, but then an employer might say to you, yeah, but you've not got the experience. And even a few weeks, a few months within an organization, you can put that on your CV then as relevant experience, if it, of course, is relevant. I mean, me saying to my boss, I used to play football every day, wouldn't have got me anywhere. But
No, but that's still, I think it doesn't necessarily have to be relevant as well, but like any sort of experience, I think your football career, if I can call it that,
hey, come on,
no, your football would have
Ash.
taught you loads of skills,
Look, I
teamwork, you know what I
am
mean? Soft skills.
sport and business are aligned in so many ways. I'm not going to go down this route because my colleagues will. The number of times I use a football analogy when we're talking about business or when we're talking about teams. So you're absolutely right. Um, we, unless it's from high school work experience, which we're not able to provide payment, we won't do work experience without financial commitment from us. So
Mm.
whether that's expenses, whether it's lunches, whether it's if it's a longer term work experience, we will pay the appropriate or relevant wage. Same for work placements. People have, whilst you want to be keen, people have also got to appreciate the value. Um, and I've done voluntary work to try and get into an industry. And I think sometimes you do have to try and prove yourself. But similarly, we mustn't let people be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Um, so work experience is really important. Follow social media of the industries or the organizations that you are really keen on. The number of times a prospective employee will say to us, "Oh, I saw your TikTok. I really enjoyed that. I've seen a lot of the clients that you're dealing with, and I particularly liked a particular client." The relevance that you get from the social media of the organization or the industry is massive. Go to networking events and industry shows. Don't think that just because you are inexperienced or young, that's not an environment for you. Just absorb it, speak to people, build connections. Um, and I really do think focusing on a role or a career that you think you will be happy or fulfilled in is really, really important. We've all done, I'm a perfect example. I've done lots of jobs that have probably been for the money, and the money is important. You know, we can't live on fresh air. If we want nice things, we've got to earn money. But I think you've got to be very careful that money will come if you do a very good job at what you want to be in. The money will follow. So try and be in an industry and a job that you really enjoy because that tends to come out in your work.
Yeah.
Um, so those are some
Oh,
suggestions
I love that.
I
Yeah,
would
those are
make.
brilliant. No, brilliant,
Um,
actionable, and like I just feel like practical, this is exactly the type of guidance and advice that I think the younger generation are looking for because it is difficult and you're not sugarcoating it to say, you can land a job really easily. You've got to put in the effort. But and you kind of have to trust the process, don't you?
yeah, yeah, and I'm not naive enough to think that obviously we're not perfect. Our agency isn't perfect. We do make mistakes, but we are constantly looking for people to join our organization who may make a difference. And when you get someone contacting you, either in a way that you weren't expecting or that provides information that you weren't expecting, it does as an employer, it does make you think we really need to speak to this person. We at least need to afford them the respect of an initial conversation to see where this might go. And we've brought people in who probably aren't doing the job that they originally approached us for. Either we've seen something in them or they've seen part of our pathway that's made them think, you know what, I thought I was going to be doing this, but I really like this. And you're off and running.
Mm,
But it is difficult. And I think those are just my suggestions as to
yeah.
how you might find a way into the industry.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that's really, and I think an interesting point to make as well is or an important point to make is, like you said, your agency is independent. It's a smaller company compared to, say, some of the larger guys out there. But there's actually loads of independent agencies like across the UK. I think I was surprised at how many smaller agencies that are. So, if someone is listening to this and really wants to work for someone like yourselves, do the research and see what other smaller independent agencies are, because all of the advice that you've just given, people can use that and try and build connections with other agencies. Whereas I think sometimes with the larger employers, they only have a finite early career positions. They only have,
yeah,
X internships, X apprenticeships, and those are very competitive.
yeah,
Whereas I think a lot of people overlook actually the local, agency down the road or whoever it is, they probably haven't been approached. And like you said, if you can approach them in an interesting and engaging way, that's way better than trying to apply via, LinkedIn or something.
yeah. Which can be exhausting if you are constantly on the treadmill of if you're constantly on the treadmill of job searching with perhaps bigger organizations with structured application models and metrics. It can be a little bit
Mm,
demotivating, particularly if you're not getting a response at all, which can often happen with the sheer numbers that are involved. So I think if there are smaller organisations, and I'm not saying smaller organisations are the be all and end all, but you are likely to at least get some feedback, at least get a response, at least maybe get pointed in the right direction if you've not been successful. Um, so yeah, I'm
yeah,
I'm I'm obviously promoting the smaller organisations from our perspective, but I do think there's a lot to be said for it.
I agree. I agree. I think yeah, definitely everyone should be thinking about smaller organizations. Well, before you go, Steve, because we've
Yeah.
run out of time, Matthew has asked a question. So he wants to know, if you known at 16 that this was your goal, I think he means the football career. How would you have approached your education differently? And did you develop any non-industry skills that you now use in your role?
It's a difficult one because if I use I can only use my own example, and I hate to use this phrase, but it is very true of my experience. They were very different. It was a very different time. I left school in 1989,
Mm,
and at the time, as I say, you could just go to a job. You could, and a lot of people did go and work with where the parents worked or join the industry that the parents worked in. And I was absolutely convinced that I was going to be a professional footballer. I know I keep going on about it. Um, I wouldn't change any of that, and I wouldn't change any of the. I feel I'm in a really great industry now, and I feel I'm a really great employer, and I feel very, very fulfilled.
mm,
But I've had a lot of jobs,
mm.
and some have been better than others. But you do pick up pros and cons from each experience that you've had. Some have been absolutely fantastic. Some I wouldn't work there again. But I think because things are a little bit different at 16 now, and there has to be an element of education, and particularly as a boy, I probably didn't really know what I really wanted to do until I was in my mid to late 20s, I would say,
Mm.
because I was my
Agree.
football career had
Yeah.
as you quite rightly pointed out, finished, was it even a career? Um, it was all about the money. I need to make some money. I need to, and I didn't really think about my career probably until I got into financial services.
Mm.
Um, so everybody's different. There are a lot of focused people at the age of 18, 16 who know exactly what they want to do. But you've also got to be prepared that life gets in the way.
Yeah.
Your relationships, families, locations, all those things, opportunities might come up that you think I cannot. I mean, I went to play football in New Zealand after I was released by Bolton Wanderers. Where I grew up, most people didn't even know where New Zealand was. And I just
Mm.
said, yeah, I'll be on the first plane. Thanks very much, and I'll do it. So that was an opportunity that came to me that I would never have had. So it's difficult. I can't really give a specific, but I go back to what I said earlier. If you are really, really keen on a particular career or a particular role, immerse yourself in it, get in it. That there are the opportunities are there. You've perhaps just got to think about how to tackle it rather than, oh, it'll eventually come to me, because that won't necessarily happen.
Yeah. No, that I think all of that is incredible advice. I think there really is no right or wrong. You know, you don't have to have it figured out. You know, you can still figure out if you do have it, figured out, great. But there's no pressure to
Just very quickly on that point, because I know we push for time now. If I can just run through quickly the entry levels to this business that
yeah.
we've had. So we've got Liv joined us on work experience from college. She did a week's work experience. She is now an employee of one agency. She's currently working through an apprenticeship. So that was from a work experience. She was absolutely brilliant. And once that work experience finished, she kept in touch. And I thought, there's absolutely no way in this world I'm letting anybody else take Liv from us having her as an employee. Harris was an apprentice. We took him into an apprenticeship. He's completed that. He's now part of our paid social team. He's been nominated for a Rising Star with Prolific North. Self-taught, we've got Dan, who's a motion designer. Self-taught, didn't go to university for that particular subject, taught himself, wanted to find a role. We gave him a chance. He's now one of our senior motion designers. Josh joined us straight from college. I've just got life experience. I have got qualifications in HR now, but that's because I've took this path. And we've got lots of people in the organisation who are university educated.
Mm.
Um, so there's every opportunity there. You've just got to make it happen if you want to be in it.
Yeah. No, that's so good to hear. I love that. Um, well, thank you so much, Steve. Honestly, that was brilliant.
No
Really
problem,
enjoyed
mate.
having you.
Yeah, I've
And
enjoyed it. Yeah,
hopefully we will have you back next year in one of our other events.
by all
But
means, by all means.
yay. Well, enjoy the rest of your week. And we will see you very soon.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Steve.
mate. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.